Jalen Brunson puts on a show in his own right, and the Knicks deliver a blowout in response to the blowout they were just dealt by the Indiana Pacers. And I know, Logan, you were feeling some real Knicks pessimism. In fact, I believe you said that they were going to lose the last 2 games of the series. You said it was Jover. And I know that you love the Knicks, so it hurt you to say that. Does it feel better to be wrong?
Yeah, honestly, kind of does.
The
Dude,
spin zone. Let's go.
Yeah, man. If y'all were here for last episode, I went 0 for 2, man. I was ready to anoint and crown Anthony Edwards, and then I said the Pacers were going to dog the Knicks.
It's like we get up a lot of shots.
Volume
Dion
shooters,
Waiters, man. Keep shooting. Just keep shooting.
Dude, it's like the Miami Heat, man. I walk into every game and I go, man, the Knicks can't keep doing this, can they? Like, they can't keep getting away with this. It just feels like they're too large of a talent deficit. I thought the team was going to be tired. Again, they're still without Anunoby. They're still without Julius Randle. They're still without Mitchell Robinson. But I feel foolish right now. I counted out the team with the best player on the floor, and I bet on the girl who doesn't play defense. Carson, she doesn't play defense. Like, why did I bet on her, man? Rick Carlisle tried to tell me in the regular season.
A classic reference.
Bottom line, the Indiana Pacers have no idea how to contain or defend Jalen Brunson. He gives you 44, 4, and 7 on 58% true shooting in this one, 35 field goal attempts. In the playoffs, these numbers are from pregame. These numbers have actually gone up since this game. 33, 4, and 8 on 54% true shooting. Like, the Pacers just don't have an answer. The guy was Aaron Nesmith, and granted, Nesmith does a good job on Brunson, but the Knicks do a much better job in this game of screening him off of Brunson to get him some space, and Brunson ate on it. He capitalized on it, and he just cooked Nembhard. He did a great job at dissecting doubles in this one, man. I thought it was phenomenal. Like, some of the passes he's making, he got one where he kicks it to Josh Hart. He feeds it to a Chua for an easy dunk. He's got this beautiful behind-the-back pass to Deuce McBride for an easy 3. He's got another one where he gets an easy floater out of it where he splits the double. There's just no answer, man. And when you're going to get a passive game like this from Tyrese Haliburton, it's a Knicks dub all the way, man. That's the other component of this is that, the Pacers don't have Tyrese Haliburton playing like the star he needs to play like. Jalen Brunson is as consistent as they come, man. And I thought he was going to be tired. I thought they kept Nesmith on him. It's not going to matter when Tyrese Haliburton attempts 9 shots in a basketball game. Carson, that stretch in the third quarter, man, the Indiana Pacers go scoreless for 7 minutes. And to me, as a superstar player, and I think this is going to be a part of the growing pains with Tyrese Haliburton because he's selfless to a fault. And it's a double-edged sword because in these type of environments, you just have to feel it as a star player. You have to go, my team is in a drought right now, and we need some rain. And Haliburton just has not felt it in 2 games. Game 1, he attempts 6 field goals. This one, he attempts 9 field goals. And it's like that was a big part of why I was confident on betting Indiana in these 2 games to close it out, the talent deficit. The way that New York looked like they had been beaten down last game. I need star Tyrese Haliburton. Like, he gives me 2 30 pieces in the last 2 games and reverts back to his old tendencies. They're just not going to survive. And I want to give credit to the Knicks defense, too, for playing better on him. They're not going to survive with Haliburton putting up sub-10 field goals in a game. They just need more, man. And then the final component of this to me is that the Pacers were uncharacteristically bad taking care of the basketball in this one. 18 turnovers to New York's just 9. The Pacers have been the best team at protecting the ball. New York capitalizes on that, and then they get absolutely demolished in the effort category. Thank you, Indiana. Let's not play defense. Let's also not crash the glass at all. Let's let Isaiah Hartenstein grab every freaking board. Like, can we end a possession, Indiana? I'm as big a Knicks homer as they come because I like New York, but I was rooting for Indiana in this one, so they didn't make me look like a jackass in the end, but they did, man. They made me look like a big old ass. They get out-rebounded 53-29. Isaiah Hartenstein grabbed 17 total boards, 20 of them on the offensive glass. They out-rebound.
That can't be right. He had 17 rebounds, 20 of them offensive. I think he had 12
I
offensive
said
rebounds.
12. I meant to say 12. I can't read, Carson. It is
It's
a
okay.
struggle for me, man.
And I know not to point that out because I know that it embarrasses you, and I'm sorry. And I can't read either, by the way.
Dude, I'm working on it, man. I'm working on
Also,
it.
are we both wearing brown shirts or is yours more gray?
Mine is definitely gray. Are you colorblind too?
I'm staring into a ring light over here. You know, it distorts things.
I
And
understand.
yes, in a much realer sense, I am colorblind.
Oh,
And
it's
I
a
believe in
struggle.
equality for all people and love.
I love that, man. Me too. New York beats them 26-9 in second chance points. It's like the Pacers weren't going to win this one, man. No effort, no defense. Tyrese Haliburton took the night off, man. And the Knicks do what the Knicks do. Jalen Brunson is a freaking superhero, man. I got to stop counting him out. Like, that's honestly, Carson, that's where I'm really most disappointed with myself. Is like, I looked at all the factors. I'm mad that I counted out Jalen Brunson, man. He's been one of the most consistent players in the playoffs. And I watched one bad game where the Knicks get their teeth kicked down their throat in the first quarter. And I said, whatever, man. Let's discount all that other basketball that we've watched in these playoffs. Give me Indiana. Yeah, the Knicks do what the Knicks do, man. And ironically, Indiana does what they do consistently too. I think there's adjustments that Indiana can make to perform better the rest of this series, but I feel pretty dumb right now for taking the Pacers to close this one out convincingly.
Listen, man, it didn't look good for the Knicks after game 4. All I felt was you can't count them out. They have the best player on the floor, potentially by a good amount, depending on how Hallie played. And Hallie had played really well the last 2 games, but also we know that Brunson's been more consistent. And this team just has a special hustle factor. And game 4 was the first time where it has just been like, yeah, they didn't have it at all. Like the Knicks just did not bring it from the opening tip of that game. They couldn't make a shot. Indiana was making everything from beyond the arc. Okay. Of course, that's a concerning performance. And Indiana just has more talent on the basketball court, and they certainly have more depth. So you don't write it off, but it's not the most shocking, whatever it was, damn near 40-point loss, because the Knicks can only give 100% every single night, except for a couple. And they brought it back in this game. It was incredible and just completely dominated the Pacers in the effort categories from the jump. And the other strategy that I thought was very effective in this game was going small. We've talked about whether or not that would be tenable for them because your best 5 in a OG Anunoby-less world is going to include Deuce McBride. But you are dealing with a team that has 2 bigs, basically, with Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam. And specifically, Siakam is one of the expert mismatch attackers in basketball. So it's just dangerous if you try to guard him with Josh Hart in extended stretches, or if you try to guard him with Hartenstein even, and then guard Miles Turner with Josh Hart, as we saw at the end of game 3. But I thought that going small was really valuable in that huge run early for the Knicks, particularly. They applied a lot of ball pressure, and that was a factor in throwing the Pacers offense just into chaos. They had turnovers on 4 straight possessions. A couple of those were independent of the ball pressure, but a couple of them were caused by it. And Indiana has 17 turnovers in this game. In that second quarter, or that it wasn't in the second quarter, was it? Or was it late first quarter? It was late first quarter, I think. But anyways, that was like the stretch that changed this game. That was when the Knicks went from trailing early to taking decisive control. And I thought that Deuce was excellent. I thought that he immediately brought the quickness and the shot making that this team needed. And on the flip side, Siakam and Turner didn't do nearly enough to punish them. I thought that they did a good job helping on Siakam when he tried to attack mismatches, but also like Josh Hart stripped Siakam outright on a post up. He stripped Turner outright on a post up, and they stopped going to Siakam trying to attack these mismatches. So that is a win for the Knicks, especially when you are still kicking their ass on the glass. Like, that is insane that the Knicks can still do this at a size deficit like that. And Hartenstein is, of course, the biggest factor. He was just absolutely heroic on that front. But that's bad for Indiana to just get dominated like this in the effort categories, and specifically on the glass when you have a size advantage out there. The Knicks all play bigger than they are, but come on, man. So it was just a complete reversal of last game. New York came with way more effort and intensity. Indiana was flat. Like, even once this game was mostly decided, still the Knicks were playing way harder. Like in the third quarter, you have the stretch where Josh Hart follows his own shot, gets an easy putback. Nobody moves to the ball on Indiana. Dante DiVincenzo gets that baseline putback off of a Brunson miss. Like, Indiana was just asleep. So 20-5 on the offensive glass is inexcusable. And I do want to give some props to Deuce McBride beyond what we've already talked about. Specifically, I think the guard on guard screens with him and Jalen Brunson have been so effective throughout this playoff run. It is just a compromising action for defenses to guard, because specifically if he sets a ghost screen or he slips the screen very quickly, what a lot of teams are going to do when they are dealing with guard on guard screens and a pull up shooter the caliber of Jalen Brunson is they're hedging right now, or sometimes they're doubling outright. I think there's an argument to be made that they should just cleanly switch, because they're losing Deuce McBride too much, and he's getting open threes out of it. It happened once early in this game, and then there was another spot where Miles Turner was actually in position to rotate. Hartenstein set a very effective down screen, which I thought was just a nice high IQ play from him, and then Deuce gets an open three. But Brunson is the star of the night. Like, the effort stuff, of course, the going small, all of these things mattered for the Knicks, but ultimately it didn't matter what they threw at Jalen Brunson. He was getting past Nesmith early. They were running high pick and roll to get him a step downhill, shooting over Nembhard, and the ball handling and footwork was just phenomenal. He hit Nembhard with a nasty hezzy in this game. They tried Ben Shepherd for a possession on him, and I was like, okay, let's see what Ben Shepherd can do. Ben Shepherd's played his ass off in these playoffs. You know what? Let's give the little guy a crack at it. And he just lost him on a screen on the first possession. Wide open pull-up three. Bullied TJ McConnell on a post-up. Was just giving everybody buckets. And then they started doubling like crazy. And for the most part, he got the ball out to that free throw line area, and the Knicks handled the 4-on-3s decently well. I still think that that is probably a better option, like trying to force the other dudes to beat you, knowing that they're not the most skilled offensive supporting cast, but it's rough, dude. Once you get to that point, like, you know that you're just dealing with a guy who you don't have an answer for. He already has 5 40 pieces in these playoffs, Logan. The only dudes to ever get to 6 in a playoff run: LeBron James, Jerry West, playoff scoring GOAT damn near, Allen Iverson, and Bernard King. And he's still got a few games left, folks. He's still got a few games left. He's got at least 2, and I would guess more than that. And carrying this load night after night after night might be the craziest part. It's just incredible what he is doing. And this is such a significant win for a Knicks team that is down so many key guys that just really got their asses kicked for the first time in these playoffs. They come back, and man, is MSG a home court advantage too, because they play so well there.
Yeah, I mean, that place was rocking early, man, and it is a huge advantage. I'm also mad at myself that I didn't factor that in, at the fact that they were going to be in front of New York.
It's big.
You know, I mentioned that I think that the Pacers can do a few different things better in this next game. I don't know if it's going to make a difference. Like, it's hard, man, when you get dogged like this to bounce back, because New York dogged them tonight. I think one, obviously a clear factor. I think Haliburton's got to take over more. I think he's got to field a game. I think he's got to get to his pull-up threes. Just got to take over more. 2, the other guy I'm pointing the finger at is what you mentioned briefly. Siakam has got to abuse mismatches more. And I want to give a credit to Precious Achiuwa, too, who I've been critical of. Like, I thought in his minutes, he played a really good defensive basketball game. You know, that's what he's out there for. And I thought he did good in the minutes that he was out there. I am matching all of Aaron Nesmith's minutes with Jalen Brunson, and I'm trying to have him on Jalen Brunson for as much of this game as possible. Like, there's nobody that can answer. Carson, you mentioned that Ben Shepherd possession. I was cackling on my couch, dude. Like, Shepherd literally runs straight into the screen.
I know.
Spins around, and then he goes, oh, man, like, you just got God, dude. Like, you took your eye off of Brunson, and he cooked you. He's like 20 feet away from Jalen Brunson, man. And then I was kind of excited. I was like, all right, man, let's see what Ben Shepherd's got. Let's see.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, you know what? Let's see what he's got. He didn't have much.
And then that was it. And he's given Nembhard every single bucket he can take. So I think you got to keep Nesmith on for as much as possible. I think these things changed. These are stats from the third quarter when they flashed them up on the screen. Carson, he's 14 of 21 on Nembhard. He's 11 of 28 on Nesmith. And he's 3 of 11 on TJ McConnell. So I think you got to have Nesmith on there as much as possible, just because he gives you the best possible look. And then another key is I'm playing TJ McConnell more, and I'm playing Andrew Nembhard less. Like, I think Nembhard is okay. He has his moments, but he's a really slight defender. Brunson eats on him. And I think McConnell just brings you a little more, like, he's not going to shut down Jalen Brunson by any means. I think Brunson's going to serve him buckets too. But at least McConnell gives me more offensively. And when Haliburton is having these stretches, I know it's tough having him and McConnell both on, but McConnell has that veteran presence where he feels the game and knows, all right, I got to get downhill here. All right, I got to take a shot here. Like, I got to go create a shot. Like, McConnell, I just think has that feel for the game that I prefer more than a guy like Nembhard, where I think McConnell can generate higher quality looks for himself and his teammates more than Nembhard, and he provides just a little more resistance to Jalen Brunson. So I think if the Pacers do all of that, and maybe you tell me what you think of this. Do they go to that big look more that we saw in the fourth quarter? Like,
with Obi,
I don't
Obi,
know.
Siakam, and Turner.
God, Obi had a stinky possession in this game where, man, what was he doing? I wrote it down somewhere here in my notes, dude. It's just a stupid turnover. It's one of the worst turnovers.
Yeah, he did have
I've
a
seen.
really dumb turnover.
I may have.
Well, there was
erased it
also
here.
one in the bad stretch where he was cutting, and I think whoever was handling the ball was throwing it to the corner, and that was when the Pacers had the 4 straight turnovers.
Yeah, he had a really ugly one in this one that made me go, oh, man, what an Obi moment. But I wonder if they should go to that look more just because they were getting demolished on the glass so badly. It's not pretty, but I wonder if that's something they should explore. It's tough, man. Indiana doesn't play defense. They don't rebound well, and they're going up against a team that is just all grit, all energy, all intensity. And that was the difference in this one. Like I said, man, I think Indiana can make all those adjustments and they can play a tighter game. The big key is Hallie and Siakam on offense to me, and how much they can really take advantage of New York being depleted and going small.
Yeah. And that's the thing, dude. Like, it's the Pacers offense that lets them down in this game. And it's not a product of like, oh man, shooting variance. We just couldn't hit our threes. They shot well from beyond the arc. I do think Hallie bears responsibility here. Absolutely. And it's not just about the shot attempts, because there's a lot of ways that he can impact the game without taking 15 plus shots. I like it when he's more aggressive as a scorer, because I think he's a really good scorer and he's best served by weaponizing that. But we also know that defenses treat him as a really good scorer no matter what. And he's such a brilliant passer, and he gets the ball moving, and there is so much shooting here. And the guys around him are going to move the ball as well, that he often creates advantages that don't show up with shot attempts, don't even necessarily show up with assists. Often they do, but sometimes it's the hockey assist. This game, though, he just like wasn't even really involved. Like, this isn't the measure by which we can determine, okay, how involved was Hallie in this game? But I was just curious about it. He only ran 12 pick and rolls in this game. Last series against the Bucks, he averaged like 22. He's been running a fewer pick and rolls in this series regardless, but like, it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. The first quarter, you didn't get a lot of Hallie. And there's a stretch where this game is just like totally slipping out of control, and Hallie's not asserting himself. Siakam also, again, isn't asserting himself. Late in this game, he picks up a few buckets, but he really struggled for most of it. And also, the rim protection from New York was just really nice. I mean, they blew up a lot of his attempts around the rim. And that's where Isaiah Hartenstein just deserves even more props, dude. I thought that he was so excellent tonight.
I was going to say, even the little guys, man. Dante DiVincenzo skied up for one on Miles Turner.
Bro.
I didn't know a white boy could jump like that, man. And then you got...
He's the one, bro. He and Pat Connaughton. They're the two.
The 40-inch verts. Dude, shout out Brent Berry, too. I know Brent Berry had some bounce. Josh Hart, dude, has a trailing block, has some other big moments. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, yeah, shout out Hartenstein, shout out Achua, too. But, like, I don't know, dude. My eyes also popped out of my head when DiVincenzo. It's just such a collective effort. I think everybody deserves some credit for what they did on the inside tonight.
Absolutely, dude. It's one of my favorite things about the Knicks. There are no one-dimensional role players on this team. Like, everybody is going to bring you multifaceted value. Dante, yeah, he's an insane volume three-point shooter. He's also a great cutter and a great vertical athlete. He also makes big plays as an off-ball defender, as you mentioned. Like, that's where he has his value, making some of those high-impact home run plays defensively with his instincts. Same goes for Josh Hart. He is a good gambler defensively, but then ridiculous rebounder who's also great pushing in transition, who makes reads when Brunson is trapped and is a good playmaker, who's shooting the lights out right now. And then Hartenstein just does everything you want from a complimentary big. I was thinking about this earlier, Logan. I'm interested in your thoughts. With OG out, who do you consider the Knicks' second best healthy player?
I voted on your poll, and it made me think, man, because I voted for Josh Hart, but it made me think, like, it made me rethink everything, because Hartenstein is
everything.
Well, it's like when you said earlier in the show, you said Jokic is the strongest man alive, and I know you meant in the NBA, but I was like, yeah, man, maybe.
Mark Henry, bro. I haven't seen him competing recently. I think Jokic is taking the throne.
He very well could. It might actually be Hartenstein, just because like Brunson's your offensive leader, and then Hartenstein's your defensive anchor, and I think that's maybe where, like, I don't know. I was thinking about all of Josh Hart's contributions, like the fact that he rebounds so well, the fact that he is a good defender, he's a good transition scorer, can barrel his head down, and is a good shooter too. It's between him and Hartenstein for me. Like DiVincenzo's, like all of these guys are great role players. Like New York is so they're stacked for having these guys, but I wonder if it's Hartenstein just because of how great he has been defensively on the inside and how great of a rebounder he has been. And then he does bring you offensive value, like the little floater game. He's a good passer.
Oh,
I might
very
have
good
got,
offensive player.
I might have gotten that one wrong, man. I think I'm leaning Hartenstein.
I don't think there's a wrong answer, dude. That's what I think is so interesting about the poll. I think you can make an argument that Dante's offensive pop is just so essential considering how New York is lacking there. Having a dude who can give you 25 plus in 3 straight games like he did to start this series alongside Brunson, he's the only dude who can do that and legitimately one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Josh Hart is, God, it's so tough, bro. You can't talk about Josh Hart without using the word heart. Like, and it just feels corny every time, but he's the heart and soul of this team, man. He really is. And what I would say is Josh Hart has probably been their second best healthy player, taking OG out of it in this playoff run because of how ridiculously well he shot the ball, right? When Josh Hart is 43% from deep, well, then Josh Hart is a different basketball player than he often is during the regular season. And he still does a lot of awesome stuff. But I do think the sustainability of what Hartenstein does makes me lean him. Like he really brings just about everything that you want from a good starting big who doesn't have like a star level trait. Ideally, he would be able to space the floor out to the 3-point line, but he's still such a skilled finisher and he still provides spacing in a sense, right? On every baseline drive, who was there for the dump off 8 to 10 feet out, and he's going to make those floaters at a 60% clip. It's Hartenstein, which is really valuable. Good screener, excellent offensive rebounder. And I do think that the defensive value definitely exceeds Hart and DiVincenzo to me. Those guys just aren't as impactful. Like they both have their moments with their gambles, but they also both, because of size, right, have their limitations. Hartenstein is also playing the most important defensive position, so he brings more value there because he is holding down the paint. Statistically, was like one of the best rim protectors in basketball this year. People shot 11% worse against him at the rim. And he also is mobile. He guards well in space. He's just so versatile. Real high-end passing big. Like we saw in game 2, dude. They were running their offense through him consistently, and he was dissecting out of handoffs, fake handoffs, spotting cutters. Like the guy is just so good. So I guess when I think about it in terms of like, if I weren't the Knicks, if I were just any other basketball team, who would I most want to plug and play in my situation? I think the answer is Isaiah Hartenstein, but you could say any of the three. Like they're all essential to what this team does.
Super essential. I thought it was kind of a goof signing, man. I didn't.
Bro was a Hartenstein hater.
Yeah, I mean, I had seen a lot of. I've known Hartenstein since he was in the G League. I think he was on the Canton Charge or like somebody like that. So I used to watch
MVP.
G League MVP, or maybe
he was on,
right. Might have been on the Viper. I think he was. He might have been on the Vipers too. I'm trying to remember exactly who, but Hartenstein, I remember watching highlights of him, and I'd be like, they're all hyping him up, and I'm like, oh man, this is just Luke Cornett. This guy couldn't actually
another man proving you wrong.
Very true. Maybe I just need to stop hating
as much.
Maybe I need to stop hating on the big white G League bigs. Actually, it wasn't Cornett because I knew a Cornett and I thought he was a bum too, but it was Jay Huff. That's who Hartenstein reminded me of. I thought of Jay Huff, and I was like, dude, none of these guys are all the same archetype. They're long, they're tall. They can dominate the G League because they're huge. And there's
Jay Huff's a Virginia boy, though.
Yeah, he unfortunately sucks.
Not good.
He's unplayable in the league. But yeah, no, Hartenstein has completely proven me wrong. I thought it was kind of a goof signing at the time. They all are, man. It's all hands on deck every single game. And they said it on the broadcast, but I completely agree. Like, this is the most Tom Thibodeau team of all time. He finally assembled the dream Tibbs team, a bunch of guys who just give 100% every single night. And it is, it's worked, man.
So what does Indiana have to do to try to pull out these last two games?
Got to get more intensity, effort, energy, engagement from everybody up and down the roster. Like Carlisle's been,
Mhm.
he has been harping on that all season long. Like I need a much better effort game from everybody up and down the roster. I need Tyrese Haliburton to shoot the ball more. The guy I've probably been most disappointed with has been Siakam, though, dude. I think Siakam has a real opportunity and has had a real opportunity to just attack a ton of mismatches physically in this series and has not capitalized nearly enough on them. And then, yeah, like I said, man, I'm matching Neesmith's minutes. He is locked on Brunson, and I am playing TJ McConnell more. I don't think there's anybody on New York that can really hold TJ, and I think he's a really valuable piece to just have on the floor. Those are all the keys. And that is a recipe that, and also, man, I think you just got to hope that Jalen Brunson is a little off on his tough shot making, because if he's on,
Mhm.
I don't know if the Pacers can beat the Knicks straight up.
So I think you have to start with Neesmith on Brunson as much as possible. You start in single coverage. We've seen Neesmith guard him well with physicality, with ball pressure, with his length. And I agree. Like you hope, first of all, that was the thing about tonight. Brunson got the best shots that he has. Like he got a legitimately high shot quality, whereas sometimes it's just been, oh my God, like look at that incredible mid-range pull-up he just hit, that ridiculous turnaround. Here, like he was getting some nice open floaters. He was getting legitimately good looks. But if he's just giving you buckets on buckets again, man, then I think you have to throw in a heavy doses of doubles. Like I would just rather have somebody else beat me, because that's the thing. Brunson just keeps coming, right? Like he's never going to tire giving you buckets in single coverage. He's given you 40, or not you, but he's given somebody 45 times in the playoffs already. Like the load that he can carry is just remarkable. And so I would rather force some of these questionable shooters that New York has to beat me. Of course, energy is just non-negotiable. You can't come out like you did tonight. They have to be way, way better there. And their two stars have to carry the load, dude. And part of that is legitimately just like assertiveness, right? I need Hallie dictating just about every possession offensively. And I need Pascal Siakam attacking mismatches and scoring, because when he hasn't, or when he has attacked mismatches, he just hasn't been super effective there. And also, he needs to be ready to play make when he's seeing help, because that's the other thing. I thought that he forced a couple of looks in congested paints, and then that's where he's missing, and you're losing an opportunity to go at a smaller defender or create an advantage for a teammate. Those two just have to be the best versions of themselves. Aaron Neesmith has done a lot of good defensively. He needs to be better offensively. And then it's like you have the better basketball team. Shout out Miles Turner for having another good offensive game. He hit the 3 straight trailers. And it was like, whoa, we might actually have a game here for a second. And then it was a game no longer. But the Pacers should kick themselves, dude, right in the balls if they don't win this series, because, like, you had your chance, dude. OG Anunoby isn't playing. OG Anunoby is outstanding. He's the second best player on this Knicks team. He's consistent offensively. He shoots the ball well. He can bully you as a driver. He defends Siakam as well as anybody really on the planet could. He brings them more size on the glass. And finally, he's just one more body. Like he is one more body the Knicks shouldn't be able to afford to lose, especially when you are playing at this crazy pace and you let them bring the fight to you in game 5.
Dude, they let him get Alec Burke minutes, man. What are we doing?
Bro, Alec Burke minutes. They haven't been so bad, dude. Alec Burks has been getting buckets out there. Now, the second he stops making his shots, you have to pull him because he's not doing anything else positively out there. But it is valuable when, like, there's just not that much offensive pop on this Knicks team. And that was another huge thing that Deuce provided in this game, the shot making, the offense. I'm not a big Alec Burks guy. He's actually my brother's favorite player, weirdly enough. My brother loves Alec Burks. But when he's hot, I don't have a problem with playing him. But again, when he's cold, I would have a very short leash with Alec Burks.
No, Alec Burks is giving them good minutes in this series. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, dude, they're down to
He was getting
Indiana. They're down
DNPs.
to they're down to Alec Burks, man. Like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, this is an opportunity you just have to capitalize on if you're Indiana, and they haven't.
They haven't, dude. And I'm not confident in them going into Madison Square Garden and winning a game. because I think Brunson, I just have more faith in delivering, and I have more faith in New York bringing that effort no matter what. It shouldn't matter in a game 7, but my God, they just have an extra level that they can get to that nobody else can. So you just think about how the Red Sea has parted for Indiana, dude. You get the Bucks without Giannis and even without Dame for 2 games. You get the Knicks, not just without Brunson, not just without Mitchell Robinson, but now without OG Anunoby for most of the series. If you let that slip away, that is a big old disappointment.